Good morning, everyone, and welcome on this snowy day to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northern Nevada, where it is our mission to grow together in love, faith, justice, and joy. My name, in case you don't know it, is Xiomara Rodriguez. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and ella. I am honored to serve today as your worship associate. And I would like to remind you that even though we're not in person in the sanctuary, we still are meeting on the ancestral lands of the Paiute, Shoshone, Washoe tribes, and we must be very mindful of the profound debt that we have to our indigenous brothers and sisters. I would like to welcome and let go, to welcome and to let go of the most important radical loving faith filled gesture we can make in each moment of each day. It is an open heart embrace of all that is in ourselves and in the world. With these words in mind, I would like to welcome you here to the airways of Zoom. And we welcome you regardless of your age, economic circumstances, immigration status, sexual orientation, or gender ID. We welcome you here, and we are so glad you're here with us on Zoom today. If this is your first time here or your 150th time, we're so glad that you're here with us. Like always, and today it's no different. We will remain muted during the service, but you can definitely put your comments in the chat box. And you can also stay with us following the service for coffee time and conversation. So please, no matter where you are today, and I would like for you to enjoy our service. So welcome. Now, let's greet one another. And how we're not in person, we could please take a few minutes to go into the chat box and put um, your greetings to one another in the chat box in whichever way you want it, emoji, whatever. You have a couple of minutes, and then I will come back to you with our announcements. Hi, guys. I am back, and I want to remind you all that you can sign up for your newsletters that keeps you informed of all the activities here in UUFNN. You could do it online, or you could contact Carol and she will send you the form. The membership committee wants you to know that we have had many visitors over the last few months. We want to hold a new membership ceremony soon. In 2 weeks, we will hold an informative session for people interested in becoming members. It will be held on the great room after service and will include light snacks. If you want to find out how to join the UUFNN as a member, please attend this session. If you can't be here on January 21st, you can let one of the greeters know. Also, Jackie Riley wants you to know that there will be a board meeting. A board will be having a listening circle on January 14th following the service. online and in person. We would like you to be there. And now I would like to pass the baton to Michelle for some more announcements. Michelle, are you still there?
I am. Good morning, everybody, on this beautiful day, albeit somewhat unexpected. I have two announcements, and one is that we are relaunching the Greener Sanctuary, which is a committee of UUFNN. And you may recall the amazing solar array that the Greener Sanctuary put up in 2013. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to check it out. It is just to the right of the building as you're walking into the entrance. So, what exactly is Green Sanctuary anyway? It's an environmental and climate justice movement within the UU faith community, and it works towards a sustainable and just world for all. So we know that there's work happening on Article 2. Nathan and Reverend Shelley have been talking with us about that, where we're moving from principles to values. And the seventh principle talks about the respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. And the value that springs out of that is interdependence, which means protection. It means building sustainable relationships of repair and justice. And so the Greener Sanctuary is going to hold a conversation about how we want to live out this new value as a congregation, and we want to hear from you. So the meeting is on Sunday, January 14th at 11:45 in the Star King Room and on Zoom right after service. We hope that you can join us. If you can't, but you have ideas or thoughts that you want to share about this, then I would encourage you to email us, and I just dropped the email address into the chat. So, again, that's Sunday, January 14th. The details are in the bulletin. My second announcement has to do with the Active Hope workshop that Nathan, Philip, Brian, and I have put on in the past. We talked about this at a service just about a month ago, and we're going to do the workshop again because I don't know about you all, but there's a lot of heavy things in the world that are weighing on me right now, and I find this practice to be incredibly valuable. If you've taken the workshop before, this is the kind of workshop that you can take over and over again. So I encourage you to join us. We will be working on deepening resilience and engagement through spiritual practice. And we're going to practice using some tools to turn despair and apathy into constructive, collaborative action. So that's going to be on Saturday, January 20th. We're going to have a potluck at 11:30 if you want to come eat with us, or you can join us for the workshop, which is in person only from 12:30 to 3:30, again on Saturday, January 20th. And if you would please RSVP to Nathan at uufnn.org to RSVP so that we know how many folks are going to be there. And I just dropped their email into the chat as well. So now please join us in our opening hymn, which was recorded by the UU congregation of Baltimore, Maryland.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. life some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Today will definitely be a joyful day for Happy New Year. My name is Nathan Bakken. I am the Director of Faith Exploration here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northern Nevada. My pronouns are they and them. And thank you all so much for your presence here on Zoom. I'm grateful for everyone's flexibility, given the very cold temperatures. I don't know about you, but my road outside my house is a sheet of ice. So we did make a decision to make it as safe for everybody to host over Zoom instead of doing our service in person this morning. So thank you all for your flexibility. Thank you for your presence. If it is your first time here, welcome. To ground us in our service today, I'm going to open with the words of Reverend Rebecca Ann Parker, where she offers us a winter blessing. In the shadowed quiet of winter's light, earth speaks softly of her longing. Because the wild places are in tears, come, she cries to us, kneel down here on the frosty grass and feel the prayer buried in the ground. Bend your ear to my heart and listen hard. Love this world, she whispers. Distill peace from the snow and water the cities with mercy. Weave wonder from the forest and clothe grief with beauty. Rest in the rhythm of the turning year. Trace the bending arc, rounding the curve towards justice, and vow anew to do no harm. The winter trees stand watch, haloed in the last gleams of the slanting sun. Glory sings here. Heaven echoes the call, repeat the sounding joy. May your life an answer, bow, praise, and rise. And as I light our chalice this morning, I'm going to repeat the words of some of the words of this blessing. In the light of our chalice, gathered together on Zoom, may we too bend our ears to the heart of the world. May the light of our chalice invite us to listen to the whispers, invite us to love this world, distill peace from the snow, water the cities with mercy, weave wonder from the forest, and clothe grief with beauty. In the light of our chalice, may we rest in the rhythm of the turning year, trace the bending arc, rounding the curve towards justice. In the light of our chalice, may we vow anew to do no harm. As we join the trees in the Sierras to stand watch, haloed in the last gleams of the slanting sun, may we hear in the light of our chalice sing glory as heaven echoes the call, repeat the sounding joy. As we gather together, may our life be an answer to this call. Amen. Our service is going to be a little different today. We have some guest speakers coming to us from the UUA. Actually, we have one guest speaker, Reverend Dr. Sophia Bentoncourt, who is the president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, recorded this sermon that you'll hear today as an offering to all UU communities as we enter the new year. There will be time for all ages where we'll hear a story. There will be opportunities for our joys and sorrows. But it's going to be a little different and also strangely familiar, especially for members of our community who have been with us through the pandemic. The return to Zoom may feel haunting to some, it may feel comforting to others. And for some of our Zoomers who have been on Zoom the whole time, I'm so grateful that you are inviting those of us who meet in person to join you in your space as the Zoom community of UUFNN. So we are going to shift into our time for all ages. This is a story titled Bridge of Flowers by Leah Lakshmi Pepsna Saran Sinha. And it is a story of community, of family, of love, and invites us to kind of start thinking about how we're sowing the seeds of community in the new year. So I invite our tech team to start the story.
Our story today is adapted from one of my favorite authors, Leah Lakshmi Pepsna Samarasinha, and it is called The Bridge of Flowers. Now, I need you to know that this story is told in the voice of a young girl who loves her family very much. Here we go. I am quiet, and I listen a lot, and that's why I get to tell this story. So here's what happened. My mom, Soraya, is a witch. And that means that she listens to people talk and she makes potions for them out of flowers and dirt and rocks and sometimes even spit to help them with their problems. My Bapa, Kamau, is a scientist, and they spend a lot of their time looking at tiny pieces of moss under lots of different microscopes. When Mom and Bapa fell in love, they planted 2 trees, close enough together that they could be near each other, but far enough apart to have room to grow. So Mom cast a spell, and Bapa settled down lots of fertilizer, and the 2 trees grew quickly and really, really tall. Now, Mom and Bapa really love each other. They don't always love living together. Right, Soraya has a tendency to leave crystals and lipstick and bacon grease everywhere, and Bapa likes clean counters so that the bacon grease doesn't end up in their experiments. They fight about this sometimes. Soraya thinks that bacon grease and crystals and lipstick are part of the magic. Bapa says clean counters are magical too. So eventually, Soraya and Kamau decided to live close together, but also apart. And they built houses, tree houses, in those very same trees that they planted when they fell in love. And most importantly, between the 2 houses, they wove a bridge of flowers so you could get back and forth whenever you wanted to. That bridge had roses and sunflowers. It had little yellow flowers whose names I don't remember. It had cactuses, one of which was the parent of my own personal cactus, Agnes. You'll hear more about her later. It was a beautiful bridge, and it allowed us to go back and forth whenever we wanted to see each other. Now, my sibling Kumar, after a while, added a skateboarding ramp to the bridge. They would go to the bridge, do an ollie, land on the ramp, go around and do the whole thing again. It kept our family woven together. Me, I stay inside often, and I journal, and I'm quiet. Sometimes outside is just too much, but late at night, when the whole world is listening, I like to sit in the middle of the bridge and breathe. Now, one day, times got really stressful, in the world. And Mom tried to help more and more people, and she picked more and more flowers from the bridge for her potions. And Papa, they were doing more work to try to clean the air, and they took more mosses and lichens from the bridge. They did this work to support the community, and they picked more flowers and more mosses and more lichens. And one morning, when we went outside, we saw that they had picked too much, and the bridge had collapsed. Mom and Papa started fighting about whose fault it was. We just don't have time to deal with this. And they went back to work. This is something parents do sometimes when they're stressed. But Kumar and I didn't think this was okay. Some members of the community suggested that we didn't need a bridge. After all, Soraya had a ramp, Kamau had an elevator. It wasn't as if we couldn't get to each other. But Kumar and I liked the ease of back and forth. What if I left Agnes in the wrong house? What if Kumar needed their backpack? We decided something had to be done. Now, I don't always get along with my sibling, but we talked about it and we strategized and we came up with an idea. So I went to Mom's cabinet, you know, the one she doesn't lock because she trusts us. I took some of her magical honey and her special dirt and seeds, and Kumar took lichens and mosses from Papa's lab. And we came and we brought our hands together and we thought about what we most wanted. We closed our eyes and we wished for that to come back into being. When we opened our eyes, the bridge was back, but it didn't just connect our houses. It connected our houses and our libraries and the place where Soraya and Kamal go for organizing meetings. It connected us to the shelter and the food bank and all around the community. And the bridge was beautiful. So we went to wake up Soraya and Kamal to show them what we had done, but they were already awake. They were up late, working on saving the world. But they came outside with us and saw the bridge, and it was good. So it turns out that I have magic too, even though I'm quiet. Or maybe because I'm quiet, I have magic. And it's good to live with people you love and to sometimes have enough space for yourself and for growth. And the truth is that sometimes when we least know what we're doing, it's when we are at our most magical. And that is the end of our story.
Sometimes when we least know what we're doing, we are our most magical. We're going to do things a little different today and hold space for our joys and sorrows before hearing the sermon. In part, in that spirit of the story where joy and sorrow and problem solving and stress and laughter and magic all coexist in life. And this service today will be playful in its use of silence. There might be more silence than most people are comfortable. There might be more silence than most people are comfortable with. But as we enter into 2024, silence can hold us in ways that sound and music can't. So I don't have our 3 candles to light, but what I do have is silence. So we're going to take a few moments. I want to invite everyone, though I cannot see you, I invite you to find a posture that feels grounding, that feels centering for you. I want to invite you to just take a few moments to breathe, a few moments to think about where are you finding your joy? Where are you finding your sorrow? And I invite you, if you feel called, if you feel comfortable, to share your joys and sorrows in the chat. I'm not going to read them out loud, but I encourage folks as people enter into the chat to take some time and read for yourself the joys and sorrows of this community. as we rest in the complexities of our grief, of our joy, of our laughter, of our tears. We know that we experience it all in community and in connection. May we hold the stories, the joys, the sorrows shared, and those held in the silence of our hearts together. I invite us to take a breath, feel the air enter our bodies, expand our lungs, and exhale. I invite us to take another breath. And exhale. As we move from our joys and sorrows, we're moving into a sermon by the Reverend Dr. Sylvia Bentoncourt, offering us reflection as the Unitarian Universalists around the United States and the world as we all enter into the new year. After the sermon, we will take some time for reflection and sharing. So please, I invite you to grab a cup of coffee, grab some tea, and join me as we listen to the wisdom of the Reverend Dr. Sophia Bentoncourt.
My beloved housemate and chosen family, the Reverend Dr. Devorah Greenstein, has been excited about winter sowing lately. This is the practice of starting seeds outdoors in the winter months, long before most of us think about planting gardens. It's a fairly simple and practical idea. Most gardeners save plastic containers from around the house that we might otherwise recycle, and we prepare them with soil and seeds and lids so they can protect the potential that they house through the coldest months of the year. Why do we do this? Couldn't we look at beautiful pictures and seed catalogs instead and dream of all that we might plant in the spring months? I know that that has long been my personal practice. Why would we follow what for some of us are the winter holidays by tucking tiny kernels of life into unlikely spaces? I've decided to embrace this idea of setting seed long before signs of life will be visible as a type of leaning in to the new year. How many of us, like me, have gotten into a habit of disparagement at the year's turning? I remember holiday ornaments in 2020 that had language I probably shouldn't repeat in the pulpit without good cause, woven into these beautiful snowflakes. I think we still have a small plastic dumpster with flames coming out of the top as a representation of our disparagement and dismay with the year prior. I can't remember if it was 21 or 22. Politics, pandemics, and ideologies have turned what I used to associate with fireworks and other festive celebrations into a kind of creative dismissal of all that has come to pass in the prior 12 months. Don't misunderstand me. I fully embrace the power of humor that allows us to laugh our way closer to hopefulness and possibility. We need more of that. And I'm not here to censor how we keep ourselves going in difficult times. But as often happens in my life, I can hear the echoes of my grandmother's teachings when I get a little too comfortable in how I process all the things. She used to teach me about the magic at the turning of the year, and she encouraged me to do whatever thing I most want to spend my time on or have shape the year to come, just as the clock strikes midnight on December 31st. I think this is related to that tradition of kissing a loved one right at the end of the countdown. Her encouragement reminds me that even in those most difficult years, of active quarantine in the face of this ongoing pandemic, there were beautiful things to be proud of that didn't belong in the dumpster fire, for all that it made us laugh in those isolating days. A lot of that pride for me was grounded in the ways that our congregations and communities showed up for one another, showed up for the work of justice. It was grounded in my gratitude for our religious professionals, for our lay leaders and our nationals UUA staff as they pivoted and resourced and supported us through the unknown. Most are still recovering from that nonstop labor. Beloveds, we leaned into community care in profound ways, and I am so proud of how we continue to do so, even as many of us, though not all of us, experience fewer restrictions in our activities than we did then. We built magical bridges, the very kinds of connections and interdependence that we continue to live into together in new ways. Those bridges between and among us require tending, as does the religious witness that we hold together in the world in common cause. In the story that I shared for today's service, we learned about a family negotiating their relationships to one another in their day-to-day living. In The Bridge of Flowers by Leah Lakshmi Piepsna Samarasinha, she invites us to consider the beauty in how we intentionally maintain our connections to each other and invest in bringing our values to bear in the world. This unique bridge connecting people across love, across differences in how they approach everyday life, their belief systems, and community engagement, still allows for the creation of beauty and magic, as beauty and science and magic weave together a path that can be navigated by everyone. It keeps them connected to their children, to their people, keeps them connected even when stress seems to rob them of their joy. I probably don't need to remind you that when times were difficult and two people who loved one another profoundly gave more than they could sustainably give to maintain and support their surrounding communities, the Bridge of Flowers collapsed. Not only did it collapse, but some outside of their nuclear family discouraged them from rebuilding the bridge. Soraya had a ramp after all, and Kamal had an elevator. It wasn't as if they could no longer reach each other with enough effort, but the love at the center of their living space was missing, and it took beauty and magic from unexpected places to reweave the interdependence that had long nurtured that family. I can imagine my grandmother telling those children to hold the seeds and the dirt and the honey and the spores together at midnight at the turning of the year. Of course, we still have time to set intentions or to weave magic for 2024, and the purposeful naming of what we most long to turn our focus toward feels important in this story. What are you most proud about from 2023? In what ways did your congregation or community encourage you to live more fully into all that you hold most precious in this past year? How did they surprise you? How did you surprise yourself? Imagine that the great potential of our liberal and liberating tradition could be nurtured through the coming months in something as simple as a reused gallon jug. Maybe there is soil in the surrounding area that is already adapted to the climate where you live, or maybe you have collected seeds from plants that have grown more savvy about their surroundings over the years. I believe that our Unitarian Universalist faith is uniquely suited to the work of justice, to showing up for the rights and freedom of all. We have everything we need to respond to these times, even in moments of devastation or fear, even when bombs fall. even when ideologies of hatred and separation are lauded around the nation, even when the bridge that holds our hopes and dreams manages somehow to fall. There is a power and a hopefulness in how each one of us can set our intentions for the coming year and not wait on sun or birdsong or better weather to do the work of new growth. Right? Earth itself can cradle our dreaming as we gear up for all that is yet to come. To put those kinds of efforts at faithful living into another kind of theological context, I want to remind us of the writings of the Reverend Kenneth Patton on the Temple of Beauty. I consider Patton one of our modern universalist theologians whose draw to universal religion was such that he theorized the idea of a religion for one world, and he worked to bring it into being at the Charles Street Meeting House in Boston. This was Patton's commitment, the seeds he planted into the great potential of our faith. For Patton, universalism needed to be expanded. It needed to be made large enough to become an expression that included a universal humanity, universal peace, universal welfare, universal health, universal freedom, universal security, universal science and understanding. I can imagine him reweaving a bridge of flowers with these words from his 1964 book, A Religion for One World, where in trying to describe for us how we might learn to live together in community with all of humankind, he writes, "This is one world. You are one humanity. Live therefore in peace and till the garden of the earth. Make your days and the years of your children a glad time upon the earth." Patton believed that religion, when drawn beyond the bounds of any one culture, any one expression, or any one group of people, contained within it the possibility of bringing into being all that is most right in the world. So here, goodness, freedom, justice, understanding, kindness, consideration, and the dismantling of discrimination and prejudice all reach their most noble, compassionate, and complete dignity, grace, and power. It's a lot to expect from one universal tradition. But Patton believed that the potential for this possibility lay within reach, if only we could learn and find good ways to describe it and to teach ourselves how to recognize it in its echoes through human art and human culture. Now, I know that we have learned a great deal about the dangers of trying to define one big T truth that is available for all people. Right? It's not the availability that is the issue. It's the likelihood that one dominant group's perspective will be elevated as the ultimate goal to the erasure of all other cultural and communal expressions. That is not what Patton is calling for. But still we know, right, to hold ourselves accountable to the impact of power in those scenarios. But what I most want to hold on to from Patton's thinking is the very practical idea that liberals need good language and ideals to describe the things that we most long to bring into being. Our very pluralistic approach to Unitarian Universalism can make agreeing on shared language difficult, and without it, it's hard to collaborate with one another or to hold on to all that we hold dear. For Patton, the highest ideal that we can strive for in all of our efforts is beauty. I don't think he meant that in a temporary or frivolous or vain kind of a way. He writes that unlike goodness or truth, words that we often lift as ideals in our tradition, beauty includes the highest expression of our values. Right? He argues that there can be truth that is not beautiful, goodness that is not beautiful, but that beauty as its core is both truthful and good. And he reminds us that every expression of beauty born of our human interconnections serves as a kind of prophetic witness to what might best heal this world. Patton calls us to build temples of beauty. For me, those would probably take the form of gardens, and to fill them with everything that will preach our greatest ideals on our behalf. So what beauty do you most want to call into being in 2024? How are your congregations and your communities leaning into all that is most needed in this coming year? How are you helping to keep those bridges well tended? From the perspective that I am privileged to hold as the president of your Unitarian Universalist Association, I can tell you that there is already a lot to be proud of in our efforts in community. I hear from our field staff that care for each other far beyond the bounds and the limits of Unitarian Universalism remains the bedrock of this faith. I hear from our organizing strategy team again and again as they work with partner organizations around the country that they are thanked for the ways that you serve as the dependable core of volunteer efforts for justice in their communities. I get to witness the ways in which our national level volunteers all across our tradition give their very best to keeping the values and the ideals of Unitarian Universalism alive in the world. And sometimes I get to sit with a few of you in small groups where I'm told again and again how this faith saves lives. Beloveds, I'm not here to tell you what seeds to plant in the coming year. I can tell you some of mine. In this shared ministry and with the wisdom of so many others by my side, I am tucking the seeds of climate justice into my winter sowing this year. Alongside it go the seeds of democratic strategy, bodily autonomy, and decriminalization. With your dedicated national staff, I get to plant seeds of accountability in ministry and congregational life, seeds of leadership development, resource production, ministry with youth and families, and greater equity among our religious professionals writ large. Together, we will continue to sow seeds that protect the most vulnerable among us, and together we will you the vote again in this coming year. The garden of my dreams is born of the great potential that I know lives at the heart of this faith, and the love that we call into being at the center of it all is more than enough to help our dreaming bear fruit. Loves, these have been challenging times, and the beauty that we bring into being together will be enough. May 2024 shower you in blessings, and may you in turn take those blessings and share them in the world. Thank you for all that you are and for all that you will yet do. May it be so. Amen. Ashe, and blessed be.
Before we move into a moment of brief reflection, on behalf of the tech team, I want to let you know that we were doing some research into why people's cameras could not turn on. I think we solved it. So if you could click the stop video or the camera button in the bottom left corner, maybe we figured it out. There we go. Thank you everybody for your patience. It's wonderful to see. And if you want to see everybody's shining faces, you can click the upper right corner and move from speaker to gallery, and you can see lots of folks. we are going to have a moment of brief reflection in the light and in the spirit of the words of Reverend Dr. Bentoncourt. And so we're going to do this through a practice that I've done in spiritual accompaniment spaces and spiritual direction and classroom spaces. And I call them chat waterfalls of prayer. And so I'm going to invite everyone, if they feel called, to click the chat button that's at the bottom of your screen. And I want to invite you to respond to the question, what, in one word or a few words, what am I most proud of from 2023? We're just going to take a few moments to let folks in a word or a few words share, what am I most proud of from 2023? And share it in the chat. We have trying, helping others, decisions, perseverance, showing up for others, staying active and social throughout the year, prioritizing gratitude. And thank you, Jackie, for representing everyone in the Emerson room. Caregiving, compassion, being calm during transition, helping on Zoom. Grayson says, improving schoolwork, solar, speaking up from my own heart, speaking up for my own heart, sorry. Connecting with folks experiencing grief and other problems, learning self-compassion and love. I'm going to ask one more question in the chat. What seeds are you sowing for 2024? What are your intentions for this upcoming year? What bridge are you building? Living my UU values. Connections, climate justice. Compassion. Patience, living with joy and compassion, making sure others vote. Reclaiming myself and socializing more. Showing up for democracy. Staying present. As we sit in the pride we hold from this past year and the anticipation of what will grow in the next, I'm grateful to be holding both spaces in this community. I am now going to pass the microphone to Ziamara, who's going to lead us in our offering.
Hi all, this is a time in the service where we take an offering that will allow us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit. Universe have commanded us to give. and you have instructed us to give generously and joyfully, even when we're tempted to keep back some of that for our own use. We thank you for the virtue of generosity. As we give today, remind us that generosity to others enriches us in many ways. The gift of the congregation will be most gratefully received. So, as we sit here on Zoom, we can do our offering by texting 73256, putting UUFNN in the message box and hit send. Follow the instructions provided for the offering. You could also mail the check to 780 Del Monte Lane, Reno, Nevada, 89511. Or even more conveniently, you could give automatically by contacting the office or downloading the form from our webpage. Here, UUFNN, each month, we also give folks an opportunity to share our generosity by sharing with a designated nonprofit. The Share the Plate recipient for January is the Shakespearean Animal Fund. This mission, the mission of this organization is to pay for urgent or emergency veterinarian service for pets of people in Northern Nevada who could otherwise not afford them. Those services include veterans, disability, the elderly, the homeless, students, and anyone else whose income is at or below the poverty level. The organization serves over 500 pets each year. Thank you for your generosity. Now let the offering begin. Now, I would like to ask everybody to help me in the blessing of our offerings to the work of this fellowship, which is helping more people grow in love, faith, justice, and joy. We dedicate ourselves and this our offerings. Thank you for your offerings.
As we bring our service to a close, I'm going to extinguish our chalice, but before that, I want to invite folks, if you want to stay on for some more community, for conversation, to drink your coffee and tea, I will be joining a breakout room after the service and just kind of hanging out for 20 to 30 minutes for casual conversation. To bring our service to a close, I'm going to extinguish our chalice in the light of the words of the Reverend Dr. Sophia Ben. As the light of our chalice is extinguished, may we remember that the light of our community nourishes and holds us as we plant the seeds of a new year. as we plant the seeds of bridges made of flowers and herbs and spores, mushrooms and lichens that connect us to each other, to our community, to our planet, to that which we call sacred. And though we may not always see the light of our community holds us nonetheless. Amen. Blessed be, and namaste. I invite you all to join me in our closing hymn, Answering the Call of Love, sung by the Unitarian Universalist Church of Baltimore, Maryland.